Oh yeah, baby. The Notorious one is here. I'm gonna have an evening session here at 6:38 in the PM. We're gonna kick it for a little while and talk about this. We're gonna talk about this. Let me see if I can go to this. Make sure the volume's turned down. It says 7:50 a.m. Why does it set to 7:50 a.m. when I'm live now? That's weird. Hmm. Live chat. Let's get those subscribers up. Subscribe count. Got to be subscribed for more than 10 minutes. Shout out to you. No cigar today. But the heel turn is getting complete. The heel turn is complete. Let's go ahead and publish that video too. Okay. Let's publish that video over there. If you get a chance, go ahead and watch the new trailer on the CGA channel. Let me see if I can go back. Oh, that was a video that I wanted to see. All right. Too late. Too late. Where we at? Let's make that public. And we gonna get it on. Ah, mercy. Let's get it on. Okay, close that. I gotta sneeze too. Sneezing on the live stream. Hollywood CGA in the building. Okay. Somebody said I'm the only dude out you watch on YouTube. Shout out to you, man. Thank you, man. I appreciate you. Salute to you guys, man. And we got an interesting stream related to this. This is something that's been going on in the background. Apparently, Myron Gaines knew about this, and he must have interviewed her on the show. All right, or this must have been something that came across on one of his shows. I'm not sure, but we're gonna take a look at this guy named Akaash. He's a comedian, and this is the typical marriage that I want to watch. Want you guys to watch and take a look at, because this is the type of marriage that is the future. All right. Thank you, man. Said you cooked that food. Shout out to you. Thank you. But this is no smoking today. All right. No smoking today. I'm making sure, I'm keeping myself healthy today. The last 2 days I was in the gym getting ready. All right. Getting ready to stay healthy for my trip. So there's that. But one warning that I gave men, and even the people who vouch for marriage, is that a lot of men who make marriage work are beta males. Now, that's not always the case, but a lot of men who make marriages work are beta males. And we're going to take a look at a couple of videos here and some articles related to this. And this is why when people say, well, marriage does work, well, it often requires you to be a complete beta male to make the marriage work. And when you do that, people give you praise. So they will talk about the things here. So we're promoting masculinity, and for men to put themselves in the best possible position to actually, you know, not be henpecked, not end up in a sexless marriage. We don't want you involved in this type of thing. But the way things are going and the way people promote what healthy marriage and relationships are is typically when the man is henpecked and he has no ability to defend himself or speak for himself. Not only that, other men cannot speak for him. He's often left alone in the island and removed far away from his friends and family to an extent. Even his friends and family might even require him to be henpecked in order to make the marriage work. This is something that is undisputed, because a lot of men who go through a breakup or a divorce from their girlfriend or their wives often talk about this And a lot of people won't talk about this. This is what separates me from the pack of content creators who can continue to talk about this and not lead men astray, not lead you into a burning building, not give you false hope, not lie to you. Okay, you had people lying to you and you guys were eating it up hook, line, and sinker. But Gen Z men, because of the position of society at this particular point, Gen Z men almost will have no choice but to engage with this type of personalities in order to make their relationship survive. I said this a long time ago, maybe a few years ago, in 3 to 5 years, everybody will sound like CGA. And we see now men are in love, women are in business. Andrew Tate, Richard Cooper has now taken these terms, Myron Gaines, always constantly stealing my phraseologies and the way I do things without giving full credit. Even people that back me and support me do similar. Oh, I forgot to mention, yeah, CGA. And it's okay. All right, it's okay because that's what we have to deal with. That's the reality of it. A lot of people just kind of keep me and ignore my impact on things. But of course, when controversial things come up, they're the first one to cut a video to pay rent. When it's time to tweet and come up with a thought or a concept or trying to come up something, they just remix it. But I've also said this, Gen Z men will be the first generation of men that will wear panties in their relationships, meaning that Gen Z men will be the first group of men to ever marry where the woman has greater social standing or position. Possibly she was a former 304, where she has a greater social reach, possibly through pornography. Okay, possibly through pornography or some sort of social media. They will be the first generation of men to marry with this woman having the status. Okay, in America, they'll be the first generation of men to marry where the woman has more status. And it could be related to Instagram modeling, social media, possibly making money, TikTok, YouTube, and or OnlyFans. There's no limit to this. And there's nothing wrong with it inherently, but what happens is these men oftentimes are going to cuckify themselves. They're going to put themselves in a negative position to where they won't win ultimately. They won't win. They're going to have a hard time managing these marriages, and there's going to be a greater amount of disrespect towards these men. And if they choose to go through this humiliation ritual, hey, I'm not here to save them. What I'm here to do is I'm here to give you an opportunity, right? I'm here to give you an opportunity to recognize this, okay? To recognize this going forward, because this is going to be your new reality. There's no doubt about it. So another thing that came out of the so-called debate that came out is that when it comes to men, they will take the shorter end of the stick and they will praise themselves as long as it's a religious based marriage. All right, ecclesiastical. I did it under Christianity. God led me to this woman. I did the right thing. I didn't violate any moral standing. What was wrong with what I did? Yeah, there's something inherently wrong about that, because if you flip the script, obviously people would find some great fault in that particular thing, right? So we know this. This is not even rocket science to even consider what's going on. But this is going on, and I'm not here to save men. I'm not here to save any particular men that are in this situation. But what I'm here to do is to demonstrate how this can happen and how people will openly allow people to humiliate you right here. Okay. They will openly humiliate you and then praise you in the same vein, which is very despicable. All right. Now, women that were put into this burden many, many years ago, and they somehow fought their way out of it by allowing you guys to submit under them in the law. And so I am glad that women were able to find their position to be able to not suffer in these relationships and marriages. But the pendulum has swung so far now that women will openly humiliate their husbands in public, and there's no recourse for these things, right? There's obviously no physical recourse. There's no social pressure or any social penalty that she pays. Obviously, if you go upside her head, this is, highly frowned upon, okay? And then if you express this with her personally, the emotional sabotage and blackmail and gaslighting that you will experience will be off the charts. And then if you went to find any legal recourse, well, there's none either. All right. So socially, men cannot reach out to anyone, not even their therapist, so-called therapist, or we call them their therapist. All right. They can't even reach out to the rapist to get any satisfaction. All right. So society will say, well, man up. All right. Just deal with it. Don't let it bruise your ego. Are you insecure? And these type of things. Okay. So this is what happens. And unfortunately, it is a difficult thing for men to understand. All right, we do have somebody that is really distracting and hijacking the chat. This is not a good thing to do. So we'll go ahead and allow you to go under your next profile and um, subscribe again. I appreciate you. Go ahead and give me an extra sub and then unsub from your page here. But don't hijack my chat asking questions. You're fully welcome to Ko-Fi or send me money if you want to ask questions to me. But if you want to just provide some commentary about what's going on in the chat or the conversation, please do. But no paragraphs or any of that. All right. No paragraphs, no any of that. So thank you for that very much. Now, getting back to the subject matter, let's talk about this. Akaash, and I'm not sure who he is. All right. Here we go right here. All right. Um, Akaash is a comedian, as far as I know. All right. And I looked him up, and he's a podcaster. Okay. His wife is known to some people in this space, but I have to say that I don't know much about him. But apparently, people have been talking about him, and it was mainly because his wife had made some commentaries recently about her in her past. And this is important because when you look at the dynamics of men and women in relationships, you're going to find that most of the time, women in our current state, in our current generation, they have way more experience in relationships, dating, and sex than young men. All right, so he's Andrew Schultz's sidekick. All right, thank you for that, man. That's very important. Okay, so I know I'm an older guy, so I come from a different time, and I'm your grandfather or your dad you never had, or your uncle or your big bro. I'm not a grandfather. I'm not a boomer. I know I might look like it because of my gray beard. Everybody looks old after 35 if you're a youngster, but I don't have grandkids, and my kids are able to produce children now, but I don't think they'll produce any kids in the next 5 years, most likely 10. All right, so there's that. I can certainly bet that there's no, probably won't produce any kids in 5 years. All right, so I'll be 55 and probably still won't have any grandkids unless a miracle happens. Okay, and certainly, possibly, if they have get married, all right, they will barely be 25 and 24 by the time this comes. So they still probably wouldn't be in the child producing age range based on the trends of our society today, right? People don't get married and have children until they're well into their late 20s and their early 30s, sometimes even later. So I don't see me becoming a grandfather anytime soon. All right, maybe if somebody gets knocked up. All right. So um yeah, that's not gonna be, I'm not gonna be a grandpapa for a long time, but what I'm gonna be is a sugar daddy extraordinaire, and I'm gonna have young pieces of calico all around the world, and putting hands on hips and fixing binds. All right, that's definitely gonna be in my plan in the next 5 to 10 years. Okay, so yeah, grandfather is not that. That's grandpapa or grandpa. That ain't gonna be it. It's gonna be sugar daddy extraordinaire. All right, it ain't gonna be no grandpa season. Okay, but here's back to the story. What I said of Gen Z men, they're going to be the first generation of men to where when they wife someone up, that woman's going to have a higher body count sexually and more sexual experience than the male. This is a different trend, especially out in person in public. This is different, Okay, it was almost always assumed that the man had more sexual experience than the woman. And I would say, certainly in generations where men served in the military and in war, it would be almost difficult during the time where there was no social media, when the woman only had a telephone. If you go back to traditional suburban households, they weren't living in the city. All right, so these women were highly, highly protected against getting a body count ran up, especially women who grew up in father homes, all right, which were more prevalent in the past. So, yes, if a man served in the military and he went all the way in the Battle of Katonk, all right, collecting Agent Orange and bussing down Vietnamese women, all right, for $20 or less, maybe $5 or less, certainly building up their body count within the military and the barrack bunnies. Okay, you would probably just assume that most people's entered into marriage where the man had significant more sexual experience and possibly more relationship experience than the women. Not only that, there was almost inadvertently or inevitably an age gap. So the man was slightly older, 23, 24. The woman was about 21, 19, and 20, right? So that does tell us that in times before, which we always like to highlight, which proves my point, women got married younger, which that means there was less of an opportunity to run that body count up all the way up into her 20s or her late 20s, or sorry, her late 20s and her early 30s. Whereas today, women stay single for much longer and are able to stay in metropolises where they run up that body count to 28 to 30 and 32 and 34, right? By the time the man comes back around, most of the time he has not experienced much sexual success, okay? Much at all. In this case, especially when there's religion, in this case, Akash is that guy. Okay, Akash is that guy, which is crazy. And so we're going to go ahead and explore this by showing you a few videos related to them. We're going to introduce you to who this couple is. And we also have this, and because women do have opportunities to speak and be open sometimes, even when they're in a relationship and marriage, when they humiliate their husband publicly on their podcast or social media, there's not much backlash, all right? As opposed to if a man humiliates his wife or girlfriend on social media, there would be extreme backlash, right? He would not, they would, why are you airing out your personal business out here? We've seen this not only with Akash, we've seen this with the quarterback of the Los Angeles Rams, all right? Most recently in the last couple of weeks, we've seen this with LeBron James and his wife. And the reason why this is concerning is because not many people have the balls to call this out. Matthew Stafford, all right, Matthew Stafford's wife, who has produced his children, jumped on her podcast to create a scenario in which she wanted to be made known that even though he was a Heisman Trophy candidate at one particular point at the University of Georgia, she actually got banged out by the backup quarterback. And thank God for her sharing this news. Okay, but she jumps on social media, says this, and Matt Stafford, because of his position, and he's in LA in the New World Order, he has to go ahead and say, "Don't worry about it. I'm fine with this information." Then you have Aisha Curry, who was always publicly humiliating Steph Curry. Everybody calls it out. Even women are calling out Aisha Curry's horrible behavior, abhorrent. Even LeBron James hinted at it recently on a podcast, basically saying, I love my wife because she doesn't humiliate. Now, she had a couple of things that she said about LeBron or in relationship to their marriage, their wonderful, beautiful marriage. But yeah, I mean, it's a horrible thing to see men go through this. And so Akash is going through this as well. So let me just go ahead and show you. Let me see if I can flip the screen here. This is going to be taking a look at my laptop. So that's Akash. He's apparently a podcaster and a comedian, and that is his wife. All right. Now, the article that I looked up is this. Oh, we also see Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. All right, go through this as well. And that the reason why I brought that up is because I see that article right there. So we even see Meghan Markle do this to Prince Harry, and people give it a pass. Okay. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes' wife has been accused of doing stuff like this. So take a look at this. It says podcaster's wife tears into husbands for platforming Trump's campaign. There goes our investment portfolio, you dick. All right. And this is in People Magazine. I just want to let you guys know People Magazine. This is not some internet gossip site. This is People Magazine. Okay. After the stock market plummeted on April 3rd, her name is Jasleen Singh, took to TikTok, Write to social media to question why her husband did what? Her husband interviewed Trump weeks before the election. Now, some people are saying he is a sidekick to the other comedian who goes by, well, a Jewish guy. All right, I don't know his name. Andrew Schultz is his name. Shout out to these people here. But apparently, this was on the precipice of the election where Donald Trump started to make the social media rounds, aka the red pill, electing the next president. Shout out to the son who put him onto these particular podcasts, the future king of America, the son of Donald Trump. All right, Donald Trump is not the king, but maybe that one guy, his son is Barron Trump. He'll maybe be the king. But this is a very, very salacious post by the publication here, and he's the co-host of a podcast called the Flagrant Podcast. Was called out by the wife on her TikTok. The interview was posted weeks before the election, and that allowed Donald Trump to, it says right here, though Akaash insisted to his wife that he didn't vote for Trump. I mean, wow. So think about this. The guy has to kowtow to his wife about who he voted for, to the point where even if he did vote for Trump, he's got to kowtow and tell her, no, honey, I didn't do it. This is a tremendous flip, all right, to where even women, before they had the right to vote, and even after they got the right to vote, up until the Kennedy election, women basically almost had to vote on par with their husband, all right? This was one of the things, it was a household vote. Even after the 19th Amendment was passed, there was still pressure socially for women to basically vote for the House, okay? Okay, so you're now seeing to the point where now the husband's getting bullied into who he needs to vote for. This is spectacularly ecclesiastic. This is spectacularly ecclesiastic. And Jaslene's TikTok was in response to a recent stock market panic over Trump's universal tariffs. There goes our investment portfolio. You dick. Not only that, she calls him out and she lobbies a pejorative towards him, calling him a dick. Well, that's probably more dick than she's seen from her husband, but it ain't enough dick that she hasn't seen in her personal life, which we're going to get to next because I didn't bring it up. She brought it up. This required no investigative reporting at all. She willingly, openly disclosed her sexual past on a podcast. Now, I'm not here to judge her sexual past. I like 304s. I like hoes. Right? All right. I like hoes. Everybody know, and you like hoes. One of the reasons why men are in red pill rage is because they like hoes. So, this is nothing to say negative about her sexual past. We just appreciate her for telling. But what happens is these women get married under the Church of God and the Latter-day Saints and Jesus Christ, and or in any religious ceremony that they pose as a white blushing bride, all right, a virgin, 7% virgin. And then guess what they do? They then come out after the fact talking about how much of a hoe they are. Okay. So this is interesting because now it is also measured against what I talked about. It's measured against the fact that most men have no sexual experience going on into these marriages. They're led by social pressure and or advocacy from the church. Right, ecclesiastically, right, the ecclesiastical advocate, and we see that in the Andrew Wilson situation too. I mean, it's actually downright dastardly, okay, that he would go out there and be younger than her, and then also she had two baby daddies, one named Chad. I mean, ironically, and he's been recently called out by a possible transgender on the Everwood podcast. And he's been called out for this abhorrent behavior to promote religion and browbeat everybody and waggle his finger and tell everybody how sanctified he is, but then come out here with the tragic past that he's had with his wife. And I hope it doesn't affect their marriage because I don't want to see another divorce. But waggling your finger and telling you how sanctified you are has actually backfired. All right. Backfired, and it's backfired, and it's kind of like me with the feast. I dealt with the first chopping down of Andrew Wilson, and then Pearl dealt with the remains. I actually dealt with the first chopping down of Andrew Wilson, and now this transgender Chuck or Charlie or whoever she is or he is has now chopped down Andrew Wilson, and it's actually getting more publication than for me. All right, my debate is not being publicized by calling him out. Actually, I didn't challenge him on the stepdaddy thing, but you're seeing actually this clip go viral. and it is negative. All right, his support group has been positive with him. All right, but the regular secular people, all right, the people who are not involved in the cult, have definitely seen the worst side of this individual. Now back to Akaash Singh. I'm gonna play a clip, and before I play this clip, I'm gonna play a clip of this comedian. It's a female comedian, and it's about Asian women who prefer to date white men. And we know this is the case. A lot of Asian women's first experience, especially when they're young, is with an older white man, probably 50 years old when she's a teenager. I know this is the women in Asia, not the women in America. But some of the women in America, in San Francisco, that's certainly the case. It's probably their first few sexual experiences for sure. Okay. But what she says is, we don't like white men because of the whole white skin thing, because of white supremacy. We like white men because they're easier to manipulate. I've talked about that particular thing because white men are seen as betas. And typically when you see an Asian woman with a white guy, it's a beta male or an older white man. All right. It's a beta male who likes a woman that is built like a 12 or 13-year-old. All right. But that's neither here nor there. With the damn iron board chest, the A cups, you know what I mean, and 4'7" and 4'10". I don't think anything's wrong with that, but a lot of people will have to call that out. Asian women are neotenous. They're very childlike in their demeanor, very childlike in their appearance, and all of that. But most of the time, especially in the United States, when you see an Asian woman and she's with a white guy, he a gump. It's not going to be a very masculine white guy. It's going to be a soy boy. Now, there's nothing wrong with this. We're just calling things out and describing it. Now, why is this important? Well, let's listen to this young lady talk about this right now. Okay, we'll go ahead and flip the screen and we'll listen to this particular piece of commentary. Okay, let's turn this up. Okay.
When white guys are like, oh, Asian women love white guys. They think that, but it's not the truth.
Really?
We do like white guys because they're easy to manipulate. You know, like because the white guy, their moms, the white moms are like, you're so smart, my Joni, so smart, so funny, so cute. Oh my God, this girl likes you because he likes you. He likes who you are. This Chinese girl's like cook and clean for you. Black mom, hey, she wants your black guys to give her green card. Okay, don't get no, you're not that good. And she's after the green card. And the black guy's like, okay, why are you so nice to me? You know, they are like they just their mom tell them the truth. Like your mom would be like, well, maybe she wants a green card.
So okay, so you're saying. I've just never heard this before.
It's what I'm thinking, because the white guys, they believe in everything. Like they're like, oh, because I'm awesome. Like because their moms like, you are the best. Like black moms or like Asian moms like, no, you look fat and you need to get a job. And she's not dating you for how awesome you are in my basement. She's probably wanting a green card from you. I feel like it's very funny when...
Okay, all right, so shout out to her for talking about this. And again, I love truth speakers and people who call out the real. And this is certainly the case. Nobody can deny this. Of course, there can be an exception to the rule, but white guys are typically easy to get over on. All right, and it's because they come from a beta male family structure. This is why when they go MGTOW and red pill, it's much more devastating to their family and friends and social circle than it is when black men do it. All right, when black men do it, they're already MGTOW. They're born MGTOW. They're born into a single family household. They're born with red pills. All right, but typically they have a lot of social engineering that makes them beta. There's social engineering, a lot of songs and a lot of theories and a lot of things that make black men beta. Okay, there's a lot of pressure from the single mom herself that makes her into a son husband. So there's a lot of manufacturing to make that black man a beta. But he's pretty much born going his own way already. Now, white men, on the other hand, they have a whole different social structure that requires them to participate in community and these things. And these are not negatives, but ultimately this leads them to get highly manipulated and pressured into marriages. This is the right thing to do. Ecclesiastics, pressured by the religion, Catholicism and Christianity. All right, pressured by the community, social pressure to be able to do things and take it like a man. All right, my wife's a pistol. She really pops off and nobody helps him, and they let him sink and slumber. They let him get depressed and ran all over and henpecked. Okay. All right. So those men typically cannot even portray any level of masculinity unless he is a Chad, all right? Unless he is a born Chad. But if he starts to speak out with his recessed chin and his big ass Adam's apple and his sunken chest, all right, bird chest, all right, they gonna send them right back packing with them skinny spaghetti noodle arms. All right, get your ass back in there and do what you need to be doing. You know, follow protocol. And then this is typically why you will find goofballs like Andrew Wilson towing the line of white beta maleism. Okay, that's what it is. He's going to bring back patriarchy, but it's only going to be controlled by the system, not the men themselves. All right, the system and the religion and God is going to control the patriarchy and restore. All right, but them niggas ain't going to bust a grape in a fruit fight. Right. And so what typically happens is when they get ran over by their Karen white wife and their wife getting digged down by niggas, all right, they turn to Asian women and they go overseas and they go find, you know, teenage and 20-year-old or appearing teenage 20-year-old Asian women. All right. But what these Asian women do is they play the long game on these white boys and they finesse the shit out of them. Nobody can say I'm lying about this. So they play the whole thing of he's easy to manipulate. Well, when they see a black guy, typically black guys are cheap. They typically don't do. They're not expected to play the long game. They're not expected to kowtow and simp, and they're not easily manipulated. And these are negatives and positives at the same time. They typically aren't going to go above and beyond and help the woman get to any level of achievement. They're not going to do anything fiscally responsible like buy real estate. They're not going to support family members. All right, they're not going to let, you know, brothers, uncles, and cousins and grannies move into the house. Okay, they're not going to do any of these crazy things, whereas the white man will spend $750,000 over in Thailand for no damn reason other than to be right for this wife. Meanwhile, she got a baby by a whole nother man while they were in a relationship. All right, and he will still go out there and simp and raise a whole nother kids. So that's what happens in these easily to manipulate marriages. And this is why you will find that white men are highly desirable, not because of their looks, but because they're easy to manipulate ism. They're easy to manipulate to follow the party line. It's not because they're more attractive. They actually are more easy to manipulate. They're malleable. They will tend to play the beta role. Now, not only them, Indian men fall under that category as well. Now, when black men get to simping, they get to simping way for more washed up women. All right, so you're going to simp for washed up women, 40-year-old single mothers, double single mothers. All right, you're not going to simp for a young, attractive Asian woman. All right, she's not even going to give you the chance until she gets divorced from this white man. All right, so that's why Indian men and white men take the cake when it comes to being easy to manipulate and the big highly targeted men. All right, highly targeted men. Whereas you, all right, it's a 100%. All right, 100%. When the woman's washed up, she will go seek out black men. All right, after she done been washed up and hung up dry and ran through and overweight and single mama up, so double single mama up, and so forth and so on. So unless you're wealthy, money comes into the place here. You almost inevitably have to be wealthy. 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 chance. If you are a wealthy black man, you can jump in line for these women. But if you're just a regular black man, you're gonna deal with the slim pickings. Even if you go to Colombia, it's you down with the slim picking bitches. All right, and Park Reyes, I can never say that. Park Yates. All right, those are bottom of the barrel women. All right, because they know. So Indian men typically fall under this particular ability to be manipulated as well. And they want to play the party line. They want to impress their mama. All right. And their daddy is a whole Uncle Simp too. All right. Here we go right here. Their dad is a simp in their marriage too. And shout out to these people that I'm characterizing as this. This is just a description. This is not me trying to humiliate people. I'm just describing things in a very general way. All right. All right. In a very general, generic way. I can't speak for everybody, but you know, what I'm saying is 60, 70, 80% pretty much on the point. All right, everybody got that. Now let's go to this particular video here. And this is on the Andrew Schultz show, and I can see that there's a young, fresh and fit on the show. So I'm going to go ahead and flip the camera just so you can see what I'm talking about here. All right, to my laptop. There's Andrew Schultz, and there's a young Fresh and Fit. In fact, Myron is bald. Is almost as bald as CGA. So goes back probably to about 2001 or 2002. And apparently they're on the show. And let's go ahead and hear the context of what they're saying here. Here we go.
Akaash has been with one girl in his life who's his wife.
That's my wife. That's an
So
Indian
this
woman
is
that was
like
important
loyal
to me.
through and through.
I was popping my pussy and living my best life in these white boy frat houses.
All right, let me stop right there. So what they did here, I got to stop it. Okay. So what you heard was there when Fresh and Fit's appearance was, and I don't know how they responded, but apparently Myron is saying I was right about them. So he must have responded and said, you a simp. So Akaash said his first sexual experiences was with his wife. But you just saw that clip where she said, I was popping my pussy in the white frat boy houses. Chad. Of course, if you're just joining the show, I have already set this up. I've been telling you, the modern day man is probably going to be the first generation of men to actually have less sexual experience than their girlfriends and wives. Even if they have 4 bodies, that's going to be more than their husbands coming in the door ecclesiastically. Now, we've also showed you an article where she called him a whole dick on her podcast because she assumed that he was going to vote for Trump, and he platformed her against her wishes because she wanted to vote for that witch Kamala Harris. This is going to be significantly different. It's going to lead to a different interpretation of what a good married man is. Okay, so this is where we are, all right? And this is going to be far more common. I said this years ago, Gen Z men are going to be the first generation of men whose women are going to have more social status and or more sexual experience than them. Right? This is without a doubt going to be the case, all right? So we saw her just admit that we saw Akaash said, my wife, that was my first woman. I was a virgin. She said she was popping her pussy in the college dorms, in the frat dorms with Chad and them. So let's go ahead and see what else she had to say, which is going to be interesting.
I'm actively trying to have an orgy and you haven't seen Nav yet, but wait till you fucking see him. His body goes crazy. His face card always slays, never declines. And I just know that Nav's dick is like at least 10 inches.
Let me stop right there. So I'm not sure who they're talking about, but if I can, I don't know who Nav is, but let me go ahead and look up Nav because they're talking about who Nav is. Okay. Who is Nav? He's a Canadian rapper. Okay. He's a rapper in Canada. Let me just go ahead and pull up some images so you can see who we're talking about. So he looks to be Indian as well, or Persian or Middle Eastern. All right, so I'm not sure, but we'll go ahead and take a look right here. So this is Nav. This is who she was talking about with the 10-inch whatnot. And she says she's actively trying to seek out an orgy. I call it an orgy. Is he Canadian? All right, that's what it said here on my, that's what it said on mine. All right, so this is Nav, all right, and that's who she was referring to, saying that he got 10-inch wood, all right, pause, and that she's actively seeking to get a train ran on her. She called it an orgy. I call it a train. All right. So her best friend's husband, Nav. So there's somebody else. All right. So now you're saying it's somebody else, but I'm not sure who she's talking about. So maybe you guys can clear that up. I'm not sure. Okay. But he's the Indian the Weeknd. All right, so shout out to him. Okay, it says Canadian Indian rapper, but I don't know if that's the person, but obviously maybe if that's the wife seated next to him, maybe that's the case. Now, he was a virgin on his wedding night. Okay, let's go ahead and see if we can have more here.
So one time I met this guy on Tinder and I made the dumb mistake of letting him sleep over, like not really wanting to fucking hook up. And I like woke up in the morning and like my asshole was a little sore. Oh my God. And I remember that he like, what kind of porn do you watch?
Okay, let's stop right there. I mean, this is definitely a very, very, very humiliating collection of videos of your wife on the podcast. And I don't even talk that despicable on my family show. I don't even talk that despicably on my family show. Certainly she does, and she's probably monetized. But here it is. She got ran up the Duke chute. So this is included with trying to sleep with her co-host's husband or some rapper, and including her popping her pussy in the college dorms. And she's monetized. I don't know how I'm demonetized. But Akaash says she broke his virginity. But her asshole was bleeding and sore by some guy she met off Tinder. So he ran up that Duke chute without a condom. This is the tragic tale of the modern man. This is the tragic tale of the modern man. Like, this is where we're going, and there's no stopping it. All right? There's no stopping. The only way you can stop this humiliation ritual is to not get married or to be excessively masculine, which, you know, you got to be kind of born with it or you got to work for it. But apparently, looking at this group of men that we see presiding over us today or under us, these goofy ass niggas don't want to improve nothing about themselves. They just want a piece of poon. All right, as long as they get a piece of poon, all right, that's all that matters. And by the way, we have 798 something, almost 800 people in here. And all my jealous manosphere haters can't even do this. All right, this is a very much just a chill stream, and I'm pulling 800. They couldn't do this in the studio if they tried, even with 800,000 subscribers, or what I say, 1 million subscribers, even with more subscribers, they couldn't do what the hell I'm doing. And that's why the manosphere hated on me, and I love it. That's why you're seeing heel turn CGA, Hollywood CGA, because I'm bigger than the manosphere. So get them likes up and hit the like button so we can create some more jealousy from these white Ku Klux Klanosphere niggas. And the black ones too. The black manosphere hated on me too, or black content creators in the space hated on me too. So they can't even do what I'm doing. Yes, indeed. Why? Because, well, I'm the true speaker of truth, all right? Them subscribers numbers don't matter. You can be subscribed or not. I'm still killing the game. Hollywood CGA is here. Hollywood CGA is here. Now, let's hear some more about this. Apparently, there's more that she has to share about her husband or her. It says right here, she has a black belt in these streets.
When you use a vibrator.
I'm just thinking of like my own husband while I'm like doing it.
Wait, that's kind of baller, but I could never do that.
Yeah. And so I was
Look at
using
you and your husband split finances, and I'm gonna be really fucking honest.
I don't.
We don't.
We don't.
We don't.
First
And
of all, that's a fucking red flag. I'm not like, no joke. I love you girls. If you want to work, all for that, whatever. But like, any man that doesn't want to have a joint bank account or isn't being transparent with his accounts or has separate accounts, that's a fucking red flag. This is not a two-way street. This is a one-way street. His money is our money, and my money is my money.
Let's stop right there. Let's stop right there. Again, like I tell you, man, this is a. Now, listen, men in the past did this, and I'm going to tell you why they did it. But the way things are going now, she has status. Apparently, she has a podcast. I'm assuming she's drawing some sort of YouTube checks or some sponsorships. She probably has a job. I don't know what she does. But to completely live under this particular type of marriage is beyond me if you're pulling in money. Now, the reason why men did this in the past is because women's incomes were lower and it was seen as supplemental. All right, they weren't doctors and engineers typically. All right, they weren't out here pulling a bag through corporate. They weren't out here running around with a TikTok audience and social media. They weren't generating sponsorships. They didn't have OnlyFans accounts. They didn't have the ability, certainly didn't have education. They certainly didn't have the ability to do this. So under those conditions, yeah, she's right. It should be that. If she was able to bring in a little bit of money, if that man didn't need that money to make the household operate, sure, keep that little money. Keep that little money. All right, keep that little money that you made working at the goddamn fountains, the soda fountain at the pharmacy. All right, keep that little hot dog on the stick money. All right, keep that little money that you earned, you know what I mean, putting rubber bands on newspapers. Keep that little money that you made making muffins for the Little League. Keep that little money. All right, so that's fine in those conditions. All right, I wouldn't mind that. You know what I mean? That's a little chump change right there. Keep that little pocket money. Keep that little spending money. You see what I mean? Like, that makes sense if she brings in any money and earns, because that money probably wouldn't help much. It would help her get some snacks and help her get a little makeup at the Macy's or the Gimbel's counter or Boston store or whatever these old Montgomery Ward. She can get a little makeup at Montgomery Ward. She could do her hair. You know what I mean? Go keep that little money. Right? That makes sense under those conditions. However, you know, Akaash is successful. She probably successful as well. So if she's bringing in more than chump change, she needs to contribute to the household. All right. She needs to not be able to say, well, you go ahead and break your back while she's breaking her back, and she's just enjoying, all right, being a 304 schizoid and running around here shopping and keeping 10K in her pocket. All right. No. No, 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 no. All right, no, we're not going on the tradition under that model, because you're an income earner. All right, we're not head of household. We are an equal partner. All right, so yes, if you're bringing in a corporate check, if that ain't going in my bank account, it certainly is going in a joint bank account, and that money is going to be paying bills. All right, yes, that happened in my marriage as well. Okay, that happened in my marriage because my ex, was a stay-at-home mom on and off. Most of the marriage, she was a stay-at-home mom. Shout out to her and the stay-at-home moms out here. But of course, she wanted to go start her career. And it went nowhere as predicted. And of course, she wanted me to take a backseat in my career because, well, feminism, well, why can't you pick up the kids? Why can't you stay home? This type of stuff, this humiliation shit, where they get a little feminism in them and they think they can compete with the big dog. But of course, time only told what happened. You're looking at a person, here's Hollywood CGA, and she does DoorDash on the side. Well, there goes that, because she's hit the glass ceiling, right? There's only so much women are going to do to be able to fight through the glass ceiling. And then now you got to do side gigs. Well, it is what it is. It is what it is. The truth bears out. Now, if she was a headhunter and she was out there a killer and a gorilla and Godzilla and a bulldog, I would have went behind her. I would have said, go ahead, do what you got to do. Go be the big dog in this relationship. But it wasn't going to be the case. So she started to draw a little money, and she started to be protective of that money while she was bagging groceries. All right. And I was like, yo, do you realize it cost me more to have you out of the house than to keep you in the house? But, she said she wanted to work on a career and build it up, and, well, she's hit the glass ceiling. It's not going higher than that. All right, she's stuck at 50, 75K forever, for life. All right, it ain't going any higher, so she's got to supplement that, doing supplementary income jobs that you probably could have did on the side if you stayed in the relationship and marriage. But it's okay. I got the better of the deal, and she did me a favor, but that's neither here nor there. When it comes to these relationships, and you see these men still uphold the ecclesiastical traditional values while this woman's drawing at 10K a month, 20K a month, sitting on the couch, humiliating you, that money has to go back to the household. That cannot be her money. She can't keep that money. Well, she can if you're a goofball. If you're a goofball falling under the church, religion, community, family, ecclesiastical, and you're a goofball, you're weak, you're spineless, you're henpecked, and you married a ecclesiastic 304, yeah, she's going to be able to manipulate you. See, here's the thing. If you take in context what I'm telling you, men, when you engage in these type of relationships, you put yourself in a negative equity position in terms of running your household. So you marry an ecclesiastic 304. Not only does the sexual experience come back to harm you, she gets to then uphold traditional rules and law over you and manipulate them with you. See, a woman that has been out here in these streets, promiscuous, sexually experienced, she has better experience with you to be able to argue. And of course, she's holding poon over you to control you. So you're more likely to kowtow and bend to her will on other aspects of life. It just doesn't affect the bedroom. It affects everything. And as a result, look at this fool. Okay? So it affects everything. It goes down to negotiations. It goes down to how you run your household. It goes down to how she talks about you in personal life. Not only that, in public life. It starts to affect those things. And this is why when I say men in this generation, and they call them passenger princesses, even the women know that these men ain't shit. Doesn't mean they're not going to engage in relationships with them. They even know these men ain't shit. So they know then when it comes down to negotiating, he's not going to have any leverage because Poon controls him, and all she has to do is clamp her legs, and then boom. And now he's got to play the role because he's got to keep the facade. He's got to uphold the facade of the relationship, because if he loses her, shit, he ain't got a woman before her. He ain't got many women before her. So he's got to uphold the fact that he's got to keep this woman even though she humiliates him. Now, let me give you an example here, because it goes even further. If you look at how men are presenting themselves, when they present themselves to the woman, are they presenting themselves as bosses that have property, real estate, their own place to live, their car? You know what I mean? Are they presenting themselves as bosses? The answer is no. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. You see more men riding passenger princess than you see driving their men around, especially black men. Now, let me give you another example. You see men, when it's time to go get some pussy, he goes over to her house. She doesn't go over to his house. Have you noticed that? Why? Because he don't got his own place. He lives with his parents. Okay? He lives with his parents. He lives with roommates. He lives in a goddamn hovel. She probably has better living conditions than him. When it's time for him to go get some sex, he got to go over to her house. When it's time to sleep over, he got to go over to her house. Now, I didn't grow up like this. So this does affect even the negotiations of the relationship further. It just doesn't stop. It just doesn't stop with the sex. It starts with that point of the relationship. Now, just because he got the relationship doesn't mean he's masterfully running the relationship. She's probably running the relationship. And then when it comes down to it, when it's time for her to plan an orgy, she'll plan an orgy on him and tell him to have a stiff upper lip and just suck it up, buttercup. Because he don't have leverage. And that is going to negatively affect him long term in these relationships. And it's sad to see. But men, as long as he getting his dick wet, he don't care. He says he got her, he goes to her place and she doesn't go to his place and mess up his stuff. No, that's not why. That's not why. In fact, if you look at the data and the statistics, it is proven that more men live with their parents today than ever before. Don't come in here and try to do that and mess up his stuff. What stuff? His motherfucking horrible Target sheets. What stuff? He ain't got no stuff. Mess up his stuff. Nah, that ain't why. That ain't why. Okay. He ain't got no stuff. He got a hovel. Most of y'all niggas got twin mattresses, and she probably got a full-size mattress. That's why he don't take her to his house. Because it's hard to fuck a woman and sleep on a twin mattress. Go ahead and look at y'all mattresses and shit. She got a full-size mattress and a headboard. I guarantee this nigga don't have a full-size mattress and a headboard. Right? His house ain't clean for sure. He ain't cleaned out that toilet. This nigga got a ring around his toilet that he ain't got that little brush to get out that shit. She probably got motherfucking doilies and shit all on her toilet. Okay. Niggas, they got air mattresses and shit. So let's just talk about it. If they happen to live alone, which is a 50-50 chance he doesn't live alone and have his own shit, more than likely, all right, if he has some shit, it's a twin air mattress on the motherfucking floor. All right, so that is what it is. So it ain't that she gonna mess up his stuff. What, his motherfucking PS5? Okay. So let's hear a little bit more here. So we're talking about leverage. We're talking about how men are entering into relationships. As long as he's getting his peen wet, he thinks he's winning. All right, I got in-home punani. I get the poke on her punani 6 times a month. I get it for free. He thinks he's getting it for free when he's getting humiliated. Like, it's getting bad out here. Let's go ahead and see what else she has to say. Is this the end? Because it's getting worse.
Akaash has been with one girl in his life who's his wife.
That's my wife. That's an
So
Indian
this
woman
is
that was
like
important
loyal
to me.
through and through.
I was popping my pussy and living my best life in these white boy frat houses.
And she had to distinguish the white boy frat houses, which we know are Chad and Brad. Okay, most of the frat boys are not Chads; they're Brads. Let's get it. Let's just don't get it twisted. Most of them are Brads. There are a couple of Chads in the house, but she had to say white boy frats, which is to way to degrade him because he's not a white boy. All right, and because society upholds, white supremacy and this type of stuff, and white is right, she had to distinguish to say, I had access to the white boys. That's like me saying I had access to the white women. It's kind of like saying, I got into the inner society. I got into the upper crust. So, any black man that doesn't have a ghetto mud shark white woman and he has a standard issue, factory issue white woman, a muskrat, okay, or a master splinter, or a skinny blonde, peroxide blonde, he has entered into the upper crust, right? And that's what she's establishing. I entered into the upper crust, not the silly black fraternities, the black Greeks. I was in the Bradley. I was with Chadley and Bradley. All right, and they was running orgies and trains and spitting down my throat because them Bradleys got sexual dysfunction. They some of the nastiest fetishes of all time. All right, them boys do nasty shit. And she said she had nasty shit done to her. So when you talk about white flat boys, you talking about some of the nastiest things you could possibly deal with in terms of degrading sex. Okay, she been degraded, ran up the Duke shoot and all of that. 2 dudes tag team and training her. All right, pissing on her and duking on her chest like Vince McMahon. Don't play around. White boys got some horrible sexual fetishes, all right, that they developed since the caves and hills of Europe and the Caucasoid Mountains, degrading sex. Caucasoid mountain sex, barbarian Neanderthal sex. All right, ask Vince McMahon. I ain't trying to say something about white boys, but that's the truth. All right, some of their sex is absolutely off the charts. All right, all right, off the charts disgusting. All right, they be coming up with the most craziest sexual experiences you can ever imagine. How these white boys think of this crazy shit? I just want to get in between the legs. He talking about dookie and oh yeah, let me dookie on her chest ass nigga. All right, get in the shower, let me piss on you. R. Kelly style. All right. Sleep with my friend and let me watch and sit in the chair as white boys. They come up with the most disgusting sexual vices that you can never think of. Let me wear this gas mask and you could choke me out, put this belt around my neck, hang me from the rafters, and suck on me. And when I nut, I can have the best euphoric orgasm at all times. They be finding these white boys like that. They be finding them dead in the closet trying to jerk off with a belt wrapped around their neck and a gas mask on. Huffing Nas. White boy sex. Sex by white men. They be doing the craziest shit. Meanwhile, I'm just trying to get some missionary. I'm trying to give some back shots. Not them. They dookie on them women's chests. Caucasoid mountain Neanderthal sex, all right? Watching the nigga fuck their wife, and they're like, oh, I get off on this. Dookie on her, too. Looking like... So that's what she's talking about. That's why she said the white boy frat. She been got the Cleveland Steamer, all right? She done got dookied on, all right? And she mixed it in, and he was like, oh, I love it. Vince McMahon voice. So that's the type of sex she had. He said, wear the ASU football helmet. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what type of sex she's talking about. So it wasn't just no regular missionary and no nigga giving her some back shots like this, That 50, what's that dude name? That Wesley Pipe shit while he was talking to her. Not that. This mine, bitch, right? It's mine, right? Not that. Where he just long stroking her. That's how niggas get down, you know what I mean? With the Timbos on and the jean shorts and the black tank top. We talking about Gucci getting licked out and cleaned out with dookie around it and nasty-ish white boy shit. Ugh. All right. Oh man. And so this is why unfortunately we see young men headed. And there's no saving them, not even ecclesiastically. All right, not even ecclesiastically, there's no saving. Sit down, down. Good girl. There's no saving these guys because they have their own problems with their addiction to pornography and these type of things. So they're coming in with weakness. They're coming in with less masculinity. Even guys that look, you might go outside and say, well, why does he have that girl? Well, because she's easy to manipulate and control. It's not because necessarily because you might be, maybe a red pill rager. You might be masculine. You might be hyper masculine. She might see you as a weekend thing, not relationship material. So she's going to go with Bradley. She's going to go with Akaash. She's going to be in a relationship because he'll go to the store when she wants to go to the store. When he wants to run to the store, what does she say? Can you pick up X, Y, and Z? And God forbid you forget picking up whatever she asks you to pick up. As opposed to you saying, bitch, you go to the store when you're supposed to go to the store. Don't ask me to go to the store. And then when she doesn't want to give him sex, she just says, go pout over there. You get none. All right, you piss me off today. That's control that she cannot buy. As opposed to you, she knows she gonna have to cock that ass up unless she's just a freak to her boyfriend. She knows she gonna have to cock that ass up whenever you request. So she's like, nah, I ain't doing that. He gonna have that pussy throbbing and beating up. He gonna have it. I'm gonna have to pat it dry when I piss in the toilet. I can't deal with all that type of pressure. He gonna be on my neck. I ain't gonna be able to get over on him and manipulate him. So you don't get picked. Okay? And then when it comes to paying for shit and you a black guy, she knows she ain't gonna get over on that either. Now, you might say, well, what about Pookie and them? Yes, and he can't cheat on her either. The likelihood that he cheats on her is slim to none. All right, so she knows that. The likelihood that he cheats on her is slim to none. So somebody's gonna say, well, what about Pookie Longstroke? Somebody said, can we send super chats? You can't. We're demonetized over here. Okay? Men who are Pookie are typically able to be controlled more. Men who are Pookie can be controlled more, not less. Why? Pookie has a twin bed. Pookie has a rap sheet. Pookie has 2 strikes. And the 3rd strike, he going to prison. Okay? He doesn't have funds. He probably doesn't have a bank account. He can't steal money from her, right? He can't put money to, he doesn't have control mechanisms over her. So not only is she sexually attracted to this guy, he's better relationship material than the standard guy. He doesn't have a car, so he can't cheat if he don't have a car. But eventually he'll borrow her car and he'll go cheat in her car. But of course, since he doesn't have a car, she can typically just hide the keys and then make him sit at home and beg. Baby, where the car keys? Baby, where the car keys? He's got no credit to bail out of the relationship. He has no job to bail out of the relationship. He ain't going to big up out of the relationship. Even if he's a scammer. I heard a guy named, I believe it's Smack Water, or it was either Smack Water or Charleston White. Okay? It was either Smack Water or Charleston White. Shout out to the people who have waited 20 minutes to subscribe to come over here and hate. We love you guys, but if you write a large paragraph in here, you're going to get blocked. Right? I don't know why people do this. But Smack Water said this, and I'll quote. All right, I'll quote. And if you guys do have a wrench, go ahead and knock these niggas up out the box. We ain't got time for these goofy ass niggas in here. But Smackwater said this. Okay, here we go right here. All right, shout out to you subscribing. Go find another place to go talk. All right, anyway. Smackwater said this. You know guys that talk about being hustlers and scammers and this type of thing, right? Well, Smackwater said, and you can find him on Instagram, and he typically gets kicked off of Instagram so much you don't know where his account is. He said, most of these scammers and hustlers barely clear $50,000 a year. Okay? Most of these scammers and hustlers barely clear 50 grand a year. And when you think about it, it is the absolute truth. Most of them do all of that robbing, stealing, killing, scamming, credit card robbing, all this shit all day long, no job, just hustling niggas. They barely make $50,000 a year. They're not making $100 and $200 and $300 tax free. They're barely clearing 50K. And that's on the high end. Okay? That's on the high end. Just think about it. If they were clearing 100 and 200K, they could buy them better way out of scamming. They could actually hire other people to scam for them, and they could just move to the suburbs, right? They could move all away from that. They can literally buy themselves out of needing to do it and start a business and flip it. But no, they're not making a lot of money, especially if they're drug selling and stuff like that. They're not making a lot of money. This is why they still have to live under a woman. All right, think about this. The woman actually has to provide stability. Think about it. There was a woman named Breonna Taylor, I believe her name was. Breonna Taylor, who was the so-called medic who got killed in the police robbery sting here. She had a man with him in the house who was not her original man, her ride or die. That man ended up shooting his way out of the police issue and killing a police officer. But he had a registered firearm, and he was a up and up citizen. It was her boyfriend who the police came in and kicked their door in on, who was the Pookie. The Pookie nigga used Breonna Taylor's address and her car to be able to conduct this business, and he wasn't a big time baller. All right, he wasn't a big time baller. He was a bum. Right? Okay. Shout out to you, man. Posted on Locals, Julian. Shout out to you. He was a bum ass nigga, right? Killing people and robbing and stealing and all that stuff. And he was using her address to deliver stuff and goods that they trafficked here and there. I mean, really low level crime if you think about it. But she was loyal to him. That's who she really wanted, but there were so many bad things going, and she was trying to change her life. She was actually trying to redirect her life in a positive direction, but she could not shake him because he was a bum. Yeah, right? He was a bum nigga. And then when you think about it, how much money was he possibly making? Well, let me tell you about scammers and drug dealers. They can't have bank accounts. If they do try to open a bank account, it's going to get picked apart, right? They probably owe back child support, so any money they put in that account is going to get levied or liened. They probably can't rent cars. That's why he used her car and they found a dead body in it. She rented that car. So they can't rent cars. They can't buy airline tickets. They can't fly. They can't get a passport. Okay, so all of that hustling and scamming pretty much restricts them to these neighborhoods, and they don't have potential to grow out of it. All right, these are bums. These are bum niggas. Yep, they got to take Greyhound bus and move their drugs. They got to hire other little girls to move their drugs all over the damn county, right? They can't travel. I mean, they very much have restrictions. They got to drive, but they can't buy a car. They can't finance a vehicle. They can't finance anything. And I know women like this, and I know women that roll with bum niggas like this. Yeah, they are in dire straits. They can't lease apartments. Okay. And the best they're going to scam is 50K or less. Right. And their money is not very consistent at all. So when you think about this and you think about these men that people say these pookies get it for free from these drags, well, what you have to understand is the woman has more control over him than he over her. The woman has more control over him than he over her. Now, let's say you're me, an upstanding citizen, a guy who's masculine, a guy who has his life on the up and up. You're in the straight and narrow. You're a blue-collar worker. You're a white-collar worker. You're a salary worker. You're a wage worker. You're an honest person. You're disciplined. She can't pull that shit on you. She can't pull that shit on you. Why? Because you have more control over your life than she does. You have control over her life more over her life than you do. She has to listen to you. Pookie, she don't have to listen to. If she don't want to listen to Pookie, she just be like, I ain't listening to you, nigga. Whereas you, if she pulls that, you're going to be like, well, kick rocks. You don't need her like that. One thing a woman need is a need to be needed. One thing a woman need is a need to be needed. Okay. So you're going to put her under discipline. You're going to tell her why you gaining weight. How come you don't have nothing cooked? How come you cook this again? How come you have to work late? How come you out late with this nigga? How come you going to girls' nights out? You're going to put more restrictions on her. She's not going to be able to come and go and free. Because when Pookie's in jail, she get to come and go and get dicked down by the other dude that got to shoot his way out of the house. All right. When Pookie get locked up, when he get picked up by the police, when he got to go flee town, run to North Carolina and pick up some weight or run some guns, when he got to go to North Carolina until the streets are not as hot, she can deal with that. Cool, go ahead and run. When he tells her to leave the house because the social worker's coming over to see what's going on with this WIC EBT shit and there's a man living in the house, Pookie leaves. He just picks up his shit, he packs up his bag, and he leaves and goes to his mama house while y'all over here praising him for getting free vagina. All right, this is the life he lives. And more than likely, he's going to go to jail. More than likely, he's going to die in a gunfight. He's going to get killed, cripping or blood. And all right, more than likely, he ain't going to be around long. More than likely, she's going to have to put money on his books or write letters to the pen and send some naked flicks in an envelope to get him to jerk off. More than likely, she's going to ask him to sneak a cell phone up her dookie hole or her titty cleavage so he can get it into the jail. More than likely, she's going to do this shit, meanwhile getting her cheeks clapped when she fucking goes back to civilian life on the outside of the belly of the beast. Most likely, that's going to be the case. And therefore, you guys keep saying he's winning. How is he winning? He can never take a passport trip. How is he winning? Well, he don't pay. How is he winning? Child support running, trying to find his ass. All right. Everybody's circling the whole final destination is happening to his life on a daily basis. I do have some Cash Apps, but of course the Cash App is on my phone. So, it's going to require me to probably look at the app. Shout out to the people who have Cash App, but it's on my phone. So then I'm going to have to get off the phone and do this thing, right? So this is where you have to look at the final destination. Death is trying to catch up to him. The police are trying to catch up to him. Bill collectors and child support are trying to catch up to this guy on a daily basis. And I want you to realize this is not winning. This is not the way to go about it. This is not the way to lower your life expectancy to get vagina from strags. Even young strags, right? Young strags that are going to become productive women of society. This ain't the way to go get vagina. It might seem like it, but gangbanging and stealing and scamming and drug dealing, these people are all going to either die or go into jail. These people are not going to be able to live a regular life out here when they get outside. And more than likely, when they go to jail and they happen to get rehabilitated and let out, they'll either return back to crime and be a loser nigga, but 30 plus, or they'll be working at McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts. I'll say it again. Most likely, when he serves his bid, when he gets out and he's working at the halfway house or he's furloughed, he's going to either return back to crime and back to prison, or he's going to be working at Dunkin' Donuts when he's 34 and 40 and so forth and so on. It ain't going to be so cool then. It ain't going to look appealing then. See, a lot of guys that you see are bum-ass niggas today were the pookies that scored with women yesterday. Right? And now when you see these bum-ass niggas, you be like, who's this bum-ass nigga? He 35 and 40. He got the beanie on, and you think he kind of cool, but you wonder what happened to his life, why he working in the warehouse now. All right, most of these niggas were cool niggas that got the 16 and 15-year-old girls you wanted to fuck when you was in high school, and he got them easily. All right, and he was cool and blooding and cripping. He needed a whipping. He's just a bum-ass nigga now. Making YouTube videos or talking about how he made prison pizza and motherfucking top ramen noodles and how he used to make honey or, right into it from his toilet seat. All right, so yeah, it is. The player went, Sebastian Telfair. Yeah, I didn't report on him. He's in prison, but Yeah, he goes back to living in the projects, 35. So yeah, I mean, I get it. You know, for men, we have to say, man, the boss up era of what we're teaching here, for men, life is long. It's short, but it's long. For me, it's short, right? I'm 50 years old. I'm in the middle of the third quarter of my life. You know, I hear all the time people die at 55, 60, 65, 70, 75. So, you know, inherently, I probably have, if I live my best life and I live unscathed, I can live another 30 or 40 years. If I don't, sometimes you can only live 20 years from 50. All right. Somebody just died recently. It was a basketball player, former basketball player, Michael Ray Richardson. If you don't know, he was one of the first players to get banned in the NBA. He died at 70. So, yeah, life is short, but it's long. And the reason why it's long is because the mistakes and lifestyle you choose in your teens and 20s can highly affect the rest of your life. So you make mistakes and bad choices and choose the wrong women and choose the pookie life. Well, you got to live 50 years like that if you live healthily. You got to live 50 years. Like from your 20s all the way to 70, that's 50 years of struggle. You peaked at 18, peaked at 22. And those were your best years. Now, the rest years, you pay that debt back to society being a loser bum nigga or a loser bum. So now you got to pay that back. And those 40, 50 years are terrible when you can't lease an apartment, when you can't build credit, when you can't get a credit score over 580, when you can't rent a car, when you can't get a passport, when you can't board a flight, when you can't take first class, when you can't take a vacation, when you can't get a job that pays more than $15 an hour. Who is bad to live 45 and 50 years like that? It's bad when you ain't got no degree to fall back on, when you don't have a personality, when you haven't matured, when you haven't worked on yourself, when you haven't improved. It's very bad. So it sounds cool when you're pookie and getting bitches all the way up until you're 22. It sounds cool, but oh boy, does society make you pay that back. All right, now as a result, let's do the opposite. The opposite of that is, let's say you was a square, a lame, and you didn't peak at 22 and 16. And it took you a while to build it up, and it took you to your mid 20s, your early 30s, your mid 30s, maybe your 40s. Now you got 50 years of just coasting through life, winning, going to Monaco and touching prime punani. 50, touching 19 and 20 and 22-year-old women that you missed out on when you was a lame in a square. All right, you can move to nice neighborhoods. You can buy real estate and portfolios and property. You can travel. You can get a passport without them telling you and writing you a letter. Nigga, your felonies and all of this shit. Now you can do that. And now you can make a choice whether to pick up those recycle strags or get the young strags before they fuck up their lives, all right? Or touch on some prime punani and they ain't qualify for it. All right, it's a whole new ball game because now you did the hard work up front. Now you got 10, 20, 30, 40 years on the back end to win. You're not 40 years of struggling. You're not watching a 50-year-old man live on the sidewalk talking about he used to have hoes. Okay? You know? Now you're winning. Now you looking at your bank account, you wake up and you smile and say, I don't have to go to work. As opposed to Pookie, he 35 and he has to go to work. He got to tell his CO and his PO that he got a job. He got to check in with him every week because he on 10 years of probation. You don't want to do this. You don't want to do this. It's hard, but a lot of people really, this is the struggle of manhood. Really, they chase and prioritize the success with women more importantly than they chase the long-term vision of their life. They don't recreate their life. They don't reinvent themselves. They don't invent themselves. They're just followers. And then they get into conversations with these pookie niggas talking about they get it for free. And then you're like, please, you're paying, bro. Look at your life. You're paying for that. Are you in debt to that? You have to get it like that. And you have to live up under a woman. And you have to have a woman pay your rent. You have to pimp a woman out. Guys that are pimps, they're in the same boat. They're in the same boat. The guys that are pimps can't get apartments. They have to live on the couch and couch surf when they get kicked out of their girlfriend's apartment. you know, they gotta go pimp a woman. They gotta collect her cash and steal her money. They gotta ask her for money. They gotta be like, bitch, you got $300. Like, this is low level living, but a lot of men uplift this type of living and they come to my channel to argue that nonsense. And I'm like, please, I know these guys. They're scavengers. They're bums. Pimps are bums. They're nothing to be proud of. They're nothing to uplift and say. All they have is knowledge of broken women and bum bitches. All right, and maybe a couple of corporate women that just like peas. But pimps are bums. They're just bums that know how to get money from women. That's all they are. They're just bums that know how to beg properly for money from women. And they might get a woman to turn a trick or they might take her paycheck from her job. That's all they are. They're just bums. And they'll never be able to rent their own apartment. They'll never save for retirement. They can't pimp when they're 50. He says, I got 30 plus years. I know that for sure. All right, I know that for sure. Shout out to you guys, man. But, you know, people glorify these losers and these loser males. And I'm trying to redirect men to be able to look at it from a proper position of life, of leverage, and not be afraid to pay your way. Because I got an article tomorrow. We're going to show you America's pay for play. Everything's pay for play. Everything that I said is true. And you want to doubt it and show me what you're doing in Gary, Indiana, everything's pay for play. Right? Your video games are pay for play. You can't get through life without paying anything. Like, you can't even survive a weekend without paying. Like, you think you're going to go through the weekend without spending any money. You can't even do that. Can't even do that. And certainly if you want to grab your way up the rung of ladder society, you got to pay. If you want to deal with low-level people, you can scavenge and play the free game, and you're probably going to waste 5 or 10 years, and you'll realize it was a highway to nowhere. But even every aspect of life is pay for play. I mean, even your electricity bill is paid for. Everything is. Everything is. And it's a sad reality. There's ways you can live life and not do that, but it's not in the United States of America. All right? Not in these United States. You're going to have to go somewhere else for that. But that's where we are. And I don't know what to tell you, man. I mean, I do know what to tell you. I'm telling you the God's honest truth. And it's going to get tougher, man. I think I've been telling you for a long time, the gap between the haves and have-nots is going to get widen. It's going to widen. It's going to get worse. It's not doom and gloom. You can feel it now. And it's going to get worse. Just let AI hit, a natural disaster, a mall closure. Just let any of these things happen, and it's going to widen. All right. And it's going to make it difficult to where you're going to be either a scavenger or you're going to be on the treadmill working to not fall back to a scavenger, or you're going to be a winner. Okay. You're going to be a winner. And hopefully you guys get this message, man. But we'll talk about it. All right. Shout out to y'all, man. Thanks for getting the first book. Check all the links in the description box. We're going to keep this rolling. Hollywood CGA is here. Let the haters hate and watch the money pile up. I'm in my haters journey now. I'm in my journey to recruit haters. All right, because haters talk about winners. And I'm not in a position where I'm trying to find my message for more men to succeed. Ultimately, that will happen. The haters will make that happen for me. But I'm now trying to garner more attention from haters, right? And so you're seeing the legendary heel turn of all times in this space or that space. You're seeing it now. The villain is here. Hollywood CGA is here. I'm going to have people talking, and I'm going to have people hating, all right? And I love it. We're going to make the haters make me richer. And they're going to be my bitch. Shout out to y'all. It's Boss Up 2026. We out of here. Peace.